Hello and welcome to the next episode of the Lisa Pezik Show. So excited for this one because I have listened to what you've asked for, and you have asked for more time and to get to know my amazing husband, Eric. And that's who I have here with me today. Hi, Eric.
Hi, everybody.
So nice to have you here. And I know you can't see because this is the podcast, but we've got a little family affair going on today here. We've got a cat behind Eric's head. I got the other cat that wants to jump on my lap because we are not in our typical setup where we film videos and make content, which is usually downstairs, but our kitchen is being used at the moment. We hired a personal chef. Oh my God, I can't tell you how excited that we are to have a personal chef. It was something that we put on a vision board thinking we were 10, 15, 20 years out from that because we thought it's so expensive and it's so hard to navigate. And who are we to think that we need a private chef? And all these fears and emotions and judgments, I think, came up. And we read a mastermind with a mentor. We did an exercise called the Never Do Again list. And what it really did was it helped you identify in your life and in your business, what are the things that when you do this, the business goes up, you make money, you make impact, you're happy, you have joy, you're just in your zone, you're in your flow.
The three things.
What did I say?
The things.
The three things. You're right. The three things, only three. I mean, I guess you could have. Could you have more? I don't remember. No, it was only three, right?
Yeah.
And then when you're doing these other, now this could be things, when you're doing these other, more than three perhaps, things, the business is not going up. You're essentially distracted, or you're wasting your time, or you may think that you're doing something that you have to do when you don't actually have to do it. And laundry was one of the very first things that we both put on our list that we were never going to do again. But it made us reassess and look at how much time we spend cooking and meal prepping, because our health and our nutrition is so important to us, as we know that we need to be taking care of ourselves if we want to produce at the level that we produce. So Eric found a chef. We started small. What do we have? We're just doing dinner.
Well, no, it was one of the mastermind members that was just sitting next to you.
Oh, true. Yes, that is how that came about. She had mentioned that she has a personal chef, and I started asking her questions about how expensive is it, and is it crazy, and what do you do? And now she's a single woman, so the chef just cooks for her. We're a little bit different as we are a family of three with our little dude. But she had actually said, you're right. Why don't you just start small? Just do one meal, or just do dinner, or just have her cook on certain days for you. And we were like, I think we can work that out.
Yeah, we figured our biggest struggle was dinners.
Totally.
Yeah. So we were like, you know what? We kind of have Friday, Saturday, Sunday covered. But we're like, yeah, that's true. How bad could it be if we just said, hey, what's 4 dinners? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays. Let's just take that off the list of things to do, and let's see what that looks like financially, and finding someone who aligns with what we're trying to adapt with our meals and being healthy.
Yeah.
So
healthy and still taste good.
Yes, that's the hard part.
Because I will say sometimes I've made some vegan meals that just should have wound up in the garbage, but we ate them anyway.
Reminds me of the movie we watched the other day.
What's that?
The one we watched last night, where the woman, she's vegan, but she made, what was it, lentil and legume meatloaf or something, and they all looked at each other like, oh boy.
Yeah, it was something. But I think where I want to tie this all in goes back to mentorship, and goes back to being around peers, and goes back to a different perspective and way to look at things. And the mentor that we have right now, it's beautiful. The second year mentorship that you get with the current mentor that we're with, he understands family and he understands the importance of having somebody in your corner and having a team. So when you get into this second year program called The Best, you're allowed to bring a business partner, a spouse, like a friend, if that's like your go-to person for whatever you're trying to achieve in your life. And I really love that you're able to kind of be there with me and that we can have these kinds of discussions and conversations. And I think mentorship is kind of that gray area where some people say, oh my God, you absolutely need a mentor. Some people say, no, you don't. Some people say, well, how could you ever spend that kind of money in a mentor? And there's just so much, people feel like it's black and white, and I don't think that it is. And that's why I wanted to have you on today to kind of chat about where we've gone with mentors, the good, the bad, the ugly, where we were 5 years ago thinking about mentors to where we are now thinking about mentors, because things significantly have changed. So I want to just open the question to kind of ask, what do you think, Eric? Do you think that you need a mentor to get where you want to go in business?
Absolutely.
Okay, explain.
I remember my first job at a college. Actually, it wasn't even a job yet. I had a placement in college, after college in the summer. And I remember it was this older gentleman. He had a pretty successful printing business. And I came in as a student. And back to that mentor role, I didn't see him as a mentor at first. I saw him as a man who runs a print shop in Burlington, and I'm going to go there and learn something.
Mm-hmm.
But he said something to me, I remember, that stuck with me on this mentors thing. And it was, if you could learn mistakes from people who have done those mistakes for the past 20 years and literally hand them to you and say, don't make these mistakes. Or better yet, here's something you can do to avoid making those mistakes. How much would that be worth?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where mentorship hits me. Is there's so many things day to day that we all do that we probably know we shouldn't, or we know we could do it probably a different way, or there's things in business or life or anything. If you want to, simplify it to sports, I want to play golf better. Okay, well, how are you going to learn to do that? You got to have someone who's amazing or been trained to do it for X amount of years that you're like, oh my gosh, they literally told me to aim my putter off my back foot and slightly to the right because I lean my head a certain way. And it's like, whoa, night and day.
Yeah, so it sounds to me like you're saying you always want a mentor that can see like that next step for you, or can take you through that process that they went through and say, avoid this pothole, avoid this mistake, here's what happened when I hit this. Oh, that's completely normal. You're having that struggle or you're having that worry. Yeah, that I've been through that. Like, don't worry, that storm will pass. Or here's who you need to talk to when you're going through this certain thing. Or so it sounds like they give you not only guidance but perspective.
Yeah.
And I think that's huge.
Yeah, it's definitely more than just guidance. It's even more than just guidance and perspective too.
Process.
Yeah, it's like they will give you all the tools they have to help you get to where you want to go. Whatever that is. Guidance, perspective, tools, advice. Maybe it's just a shoulder to lean on to be like, I'm going through this stuff. What do I do? What's your recommendation? So, yeah.
Now, how do you think, because every mentor, every business owner, if they do mentorship or they do masterminds or group coaching or one-on-one coaching, will tell you that they are the greatest thing since sliced bread, that they are the one that's going to get you to the top and you should invest in them and they are the only one. How do you know like who is the right mentor for you? How do you differentiate who's going to help you, who, for lack of better words, is blowing smoke up your bum, like who just wants the sale? Like, how do you know? How do you think you've I mean, I know for us, we've had lots of mentors, more so me maybe than you, but you were a byproduct of watching me invest. And I've had some mentors that I've invested a lot of money in, and it's been awful, like awful, meaning no processes, no systems, no direct attention, like business went nowhere. And then we've had some mentors we invested in, it's been the complete opposite. Business has skyrocketed, lots of one-to-one attention or lots of time to get your questions answered and feel like they really know you. So like how do you know who to invest with and who not to invest with?
Yeah.
Such a hard question.
Yeah, I think for us, well, there's only really one thing you can do to make yourself feel better, I guess, about your process of elimination or whatever it is.
Selection or elimination.
Yeah, it's like, okay, well, you have to look at getting referrals from those people to say like who's been through your mentorship training and what have they got out of it. You can't always equate it back to finances. Like that's one thing I've learned with mentorship is that it's not always about finances and
the ROI isn't always money.
It's not, like, and I've heard mentors who've been mentored who went through the same good, bad, and ugly, where they're like, oh my gosh, we invest 100,000 a year in mentorship training, and sometimes it's a wash in the sense that it's like went in, thought they were the right fit, went through their processes or their mentorship training and went, well, that we didn't really get much out of it. But
how's that again? Right.
So,
okay.
But then I'm also, I haven't always been this way, but I'm also a firm believer that there's always, everything happens for a reason.
Totally.
And there's somewhat always a silver lining in every situation, even the bad. And that's, we reflect on like the bad.
You're such a better, like you have such better perspective when it comes to that, I think, than I do. Like I'm always like, oh my God, I invested like X amount and it was a bad decision and I should have done this or I should have asked this question. Like hindsight's it's always after that you're like, oh my God, I should have seen it or I should have known. And you're right. I mean, when you're in it, it's pain. It's painful when you're looking at your bank account and you're looking at the time or energy spent. It's not what you think it's going to be. But once you're out of it, you can kind of look at it and go, okay, well, that led me to this. That got me in contact with that person.
You got to connect the dots.
Or I would have gone down this really bad decision if I wouldn't have realized that. Like you always learn from it. You always see the silver lining later.
But that's really one of the hardest parts as a human being is reflecting and looking on the journey and the process you went through. Mm-hmm. And I'm guilty. Like there's so many times where I'm like, man, that was really horrible. That whole experience, or, I've had like different like partnerships in business where I'm like, man, that really sucked. What he did to me or what they did to me was horrible. But then I think after I'm like, yeah, but if that didn't happen, I wouldn't have met this person. This person learned about me and trusted me because of that process.
Yeah.
That then they reached out to me and said, hey, I know that happened with that previous person and I have nothing to do with that, but I love you and what you do and want to talk to you about this opportunity. And then it's like, whoa, that's why that happened.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And I think another piece too is what I never realized is that you kind of have to know, I think you have to be in the driver's seat when you hire someone, and you have to know what you want to get out of it, like what you're trying to achieve and what the goal is. And I think it's kind of a lot of times masterminds and coaching programs and things like that. You have to be the driver of this is what I need right now. And I have to ask the right questions, or I have to go seek out that person. Like I know when I first joined my very first mastermind program, I really thought it was going to be for one-to-one attention with the mentor, because I really wanted his eyeballs on my systems and my processes. And it wasn't that. It was just like high level masterminding. It was like, I'm going to plunk you in the middle of a group of, 30, 40, 50, 100, 6, 7 figure earners, 8 figure earners doing amazing things. And you've got to kind of navigate who you want to speak to and what you need and collaborations and things that you need. And I didn't realize that at first. I thought it was very systematized and I was going to be told kind of what to do and where to go. And it was the opposite. It was like, here you are.
Like conference style.
Yeah, like you go figure it out. And I didn't realize that probably until afterwards, that, oh shit, like I should have been more proactive.
We're allowed to swear on this?
Oh yeah.
Sweet.
But all the time. Oh yeah, we keep it real. We're sitting on the couch right now with the cat behind us. I know you can't see it, but we're in our sweats.
Can I jump in there for a second?
Loving life. Yeah, sure.
Some just came up. That's a really good point too about figuring out your mentor. And typically what I've seen is that a mastermind mentorship training, whatever you want to call it, is typically the highest level of working with that person or working with that company.
It's their high level offer.
So you should digest everything and anything from that person that you can before you make that decision.
Oh, that's a good point.
Because I think about that, like the journey we took with Lisa's current mentor is 3 steps away from actually joining his mastermind. So it's like you go to this event. Actually, yeah, you go to this event, you get a taste of what it is to see what he does and how amazing he is. Then you go to his event and then you get a taste of what he does and how he works with people on a conference style setting, like a summit, if you will, of like, let's say it's 100 to 300 people. And then the next level is like, if you want to learn this one-on-one, that's when you get into the mastermind level. And then he still has online stuff you can do as well. So it's like, I think that's a really good point, because I'm going through that too in my mentorship trainings. I'm digesting the very low level stuff, like $0 to $500 or even $1,000, and being like, I'm going to go through some of this stuff and see if the goods are as good as they say it is, kind of thing.
And this, and like this might just be personal preference. I know we're just having an open conversation about mentorship right now. To your point about getting to know like everything you can, like digest their stuff, I really pick a person based on like who they are, not just what they have achieved in business. Like I think about my current mentor and some of the things that are really attract me to him is him and his wife. They run a family business similar to how we run. It's husband and wife. We're husband and wife. They have children. They have 3 children who are like the center of their world, and they plan their business essentially now around their children. Like children are just as important as their business. And Oliver, our little guy, is going to be 6. He is just as important in our life as our business. So those similarities, I think, are there. I love that they cap their events at no more than 150 people. And then when you get into like the masterminds, there's no more than 30 people in a room. I love that, because to me, it's guaranteed connection with people. It's guaranteed, not one-on-one attention, but I feel like more awesomeness happens in a room of smaller people than a conference of thousands of people. I mean, amazing things can still happen with conferences of thousands of people. But again, it just goes back to personal preference. I prefer a smaller, more intimate, when we're masterminding and doing that sort of stuff. Like I prefer a smaller, more intimate setting than the thousands of people setting. So a lot of just the values that they built in their business align with the values that I think we build in our business. And that was another thing that I think drew me to them. I mean, we talked about that with a previous mentor that didn't have children. And they were always talking about children and how you navigate things. And we're like, no offense, what do you know about having children? You don't have any. Like, and I'm not saying that to be mean, but it's like, it's just a simple fact. Like, you don't know what our reality is like, because building a business as a single person, or building a business even with someone or a partner, is very different than building a business
with a family,
and with children. Because you know, when you're single, you're building your business. That's that. When you're married with a business, you're building your business and you're building your relationship. Maybe they're together, maybe they're not. When you're like us, when you're building a business and you have children, you're actually building like 3 things.
Mm-hmm.
We're building our business, we're building our marriage, and we're building a child, essentially.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you hate to dull it down and make it look like that, but it's true. We're building things that are important to us. And it's like 3 times the work versus 1, or maybe 2 times the work. And that's not to say one is better than the other. It's just the situation in life that you're at.
Mm-hmm.
And that you chose.
Yes.
I know Shoni Johnson made a really good post about that. I was reading where she's like, never ever get mad at like your children or your spouse, or like, you chose that. You chose your business. You chose your marriage. You chose to have a child.
Yeah.
You know? So I just think, you know, get to know, it goes back to that, get to know as much as you can about the person by digesting their lower level like content. I think that's such a great piece of advice, because not only, I think for me, I'm not only looking at how they do business, but I'm looking at how they do life.
Yeah.
Because those things for me spill over. So I think it's knowing, again, yourself, what do you want from a mentor? What do you, because some people might be like, I don't really care how they run their personal life. I do.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's getting to know kind of, you know, what is important to you when you choose someone like that. So
the last part for me,
yeah,
and I know it's coming up a lot more recently for us, is trust your gut.
oh,
it's so like, it's so
see, instantly I go to, oh, and you're like, it's a good thing, and I'm like, oh,
because it's so hard. But it's like I said, we were talking about this on the weekend. We were away for our anniversary.
That's lovely.
And it came up because we were like, when have you ever said, man, why did I trust my gut? I shouldn't have trusted my gut. Never. You never say that. You never said, I shouldn't have trusted my gut. You always say, man, my gut instinct was right. That was wrong. That sucked. I shouldn't have done that. Whatever it is. I should have chose pizza, not pasta. It was disgusting. Right? You should have trusted your gut.
Did that happen to us this weekend? No, it didn't. We had pizza and it was good.
Yeah, no, we trusted our gut.
Yeah. No, yeah, your gut, yeah, literally. Yeah, well, your gut and your brain are connected. There's all sorts of physiology and nerdy science around all that, which I won't get into.
I'm just saying, trust your gut.
But yeah, and I think it goes back to,
because that sorry.
Go ahead. No,
because that may be the last thing holding you back.
Yep.
You may have all the ticks checked off, and then all of a sudden you're just like, man, something's not right.
Yep.
Don't.
That should null and void almost everything else.
Yeah,
like,
then don't.
Yeah. My gut has never failed me.
Well, you'd hope it wouldn't.
It's never failed me.
Put it that way. It's like saying my brain sucks.
No.
My brain doesn't work.
It's the times that I betrayed my gut and that I betrayed myself that I've gotten screwed over.
Yeah. Me too. That's everything. Any time that I've been like, man, why'd I do that? Because I didn't listen to my gut.
So I think, yeah, I want to relate that back to a lot of times when you're pitched masterminds or mentorship, you're like, it's all sales psychology. Mm-hmm. And again, that doesn't make it bad. That doesn't make it icky. I don't want people to instantly go, oh, when someone tries to sell me something from stage, they're a crappy person. Like, no, that's business and that's sales. But I think it's pay attention. Like when I'm at a conference and someone used to pitch something from stage, I'm like, I'm buying everything. I'm buying it because like you're in that moment of that energy and like that experience, and it's smart business. They have you in that environment where you feel like I'm going to be a loser if I don't like go and do something, or it's like a FOMO, like opportunity is going to pass me by. Yeah. And all these other people are jumping on it and I should be jumping on it. And I'm serious about my business and they just wowed me on stage. So they must be amazing at whatever it is. Like, you're in that environment where you're going through all, and again, there's like, we could nerd out about all the endorphins and hormones in your brain that get triggered in a good way when you're at those events that make you want to buy. There's a psychology process around it. I encourage you to sit on it. Like,
I always say no.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah. Well, you're right. You always say, don't worry, the opportunity will be there.
Yeah.
Like somehow, some way.
If at any point I feel pressured to say yes, I tell my brain no.
Yeah.
And I say no. And they hate it. People hate it because their ultimate goal is for you to say yes.
Right.
But if you don't have the comfort, then just say no. Just go into it.
That's where I was going with that, is that if you are in that moment and you take a step back and you analyze and you look at everything and your gut goes, I'm not sure about this one little thing, say no.
Yeah.
Say no. Because it goes back to that gut. But because you try to override it. You try to override your gut by saying, oh, well, they said this, or they did this, or they promised this, or this is going to happen.
Oh, I'm going to be a millionaire.
And it's like your gut is like, no. So pay attention to kind of your surroundings and never betray yourself in that.
Yeah.
Like, I know, again, when we shared that story with our current mentor, when I was at the event, and I came out with a little trifold sheet, and Eric, you weren't at the event that time. You were just there with me. You were off golfing, I think, and I was at the 3-day event, and I came out with a little mastermind sheet at lunchtime, and I was like, I need to do this. And you were like, no, you're not doing it. And I was like, no, I need to do this. And you were like, you're not doing it. And then we kind of talked about it, and I was like, here's why I need to do this, and here's where I think I'm at. And I did say, I'm like, something about my gut, I trust him, and I trust that this is going to be right for us. And this was literally after we had invested probably close to, you go ahead, probably close to, $100,000 we had invested in a previous mentor, and it did not go well. It did not go the way we had planned it to go. And that's why Eric was like, no, we've already invested. We've already trusted. We've already, gone down this road, and we didn't get what we need. No, let's take some time to reassess. But my gut knew that this was the right move, and this was the right plan, and this was what we should do. And that's the current mentor that we're with today. That's the current mentor that has helped us have perspective and be able to kill a lot of our plan Bs and stop doing things in our business that we shouldn't be doing, and start focusing on the right tasks, and start charging the right amount, and start presenting ourselves with our best foot forward. And look at this cat hanging out. And if you're on audio, you can't see, but the animals are up here, joining us. Eric had to run off to chat with the chef quickly about something, so he'll be back. This is real life, people. This is how it goes. But I trusted my gut that it was right, and it was. So I do believe it does always go back to your gut. And I think it's important to, if you're married and you're making decisions that are not just yours. Now, some marriages, again, are very, you live your life, I'll live my life, and at some point we'll come together and do this. Eric and I don't have that kind of marriage. We make every decision together. We pretty much do almost everything together. I think it's really important that you share your vision and where you're going and what your intentions are when you're making a decision that involves a pretty good chunk of change. Or maybe it doesn't even have to necessarily involve a good chunk of change. When you're making a big decision. And I can remember looking at Eric and saying, do you trust me? Do you trust my gut? And he said, yes. And I said, do you trust that I will make back this investment and then some for us. I will apply whatever it is that I learn. I will go and do, I will make this happen no matter what. Do you trust me? And he said, yeah. And that was like almost the skin in the game for me, that if I was going to get in there and do this, I was determined to get whatever it was that I needed out of this, like it was life or death. So I think don't be nonchalant about not only the person that you choose or what you say yes to, but then don't be nonchalant about the process. If you're not getting what you need, speak up. If you're confused, ask the question. If you are in a room plunked with 30, 40, 50 people, pick 5 people in that room that you're going to go and make a solid connection with and see where it goes. Play that little game with yourself. Sometimes I do that when I'm at events and I'm all self-conscious and nervous about how I feel sometimes, because I'm in a room of 7, 8-figure earners, and we're, getting there, and they've just done some incredible, I don't say that in terms to say that these are like wealthy, rich people. I say it in that they've done some incredible things and they've served masses of people to be able to get there. And that's where we're going. And I play that little game of, I got to go talk to 5 people in this room. And that gets me out of my own way, because I'm very action oriented. If I set the goal out, I'll go do it. And that gets me out of my own way of worrying about how I'm showing up and if people want to talk to me, and I just go. So it's like, get what you need once you've made that decision and you're like, I'm in, I'm going, I'm here. Don't let that opportunity pass you by, because mentorship programs, really any program you invest in, really is what you make of it. That mentor most likely is not going to come to you and say, how's this going? Are you getting what you need? It's up to you to go and get what you need. It's you driven. So I don't know if Eric's coming back. It sounds like he kind of got tied up running off with the chef. That sounds terrible, doesn't it? Running off with the chef. You know what I mean. He's downstairs talking to her about our menu. And yeah, I think I'm just going to end it there for today. Just wanted to have a off the cuff kind of talk about who we've invested with and how we've made that decision and what helped us kind of clarify who's the right choice for us and what's the right path, and just all of that, because I think these are things that sometimes you feel so siloed when you have to make decisions, or I felt very siloed in that I don't know if I'm making the right decision. I don't know what's right. I don't know what's wrong. I don't know what the silver lining is. Am I the only one that's ever not trusted my gut or made a bad decision, or things haven't worked out the way that I've wanted them to? And you're not alone. You're not alone. Anybody who's ever done anything that's mattered has risked it all, has risked it big, has had a big fat epic failure and come back from it and bounced back from it and kept going. It's probably not been easy for anyone that's done amazing things. So I know that's where we're going. That's what we're doing. That's why we're getting help. That's why we invest in mentors. That's why we do our research. And I just want you to know you're not alone. So hopefully this podcast served. Thank you for tuning in. If you want to just pick our brains, like 15 minutes free at lisapezik.com, at the bottom of every page on my website, you can jump on and get on a 15-minute strategy call with Eric and I, and we'll help answer some of these questions. We'll maybe help you find that silver lining and what your next step should be. We're happy to talk about the mentors that we've invested with and where it's gone great, and the mentors we've invested with and it's not gone so great, and why that happened and what we learned about ourselves in that process, because it's never about placing blame. It's never about blaming someone else for your circumstance. It's about seeing how you showed up and what's your accountability and responsibility, and what is that right next best step for you. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you again next time. Hopefully back with my husband on the Lisa Pezik Show.